Okay. Okay, I think that's good. So we can get started. Okay, hello everyone. So I'm Xirynx, however you want to pronounce it. I just ended up randomly choosing my name with a name generator. But so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take everyone through how we usually design, well, how I usually design POAPs and like go through my workflow and like how I come up with a design. Today I'll be using Photoshop, which I know not everyone has, but we can like, Photoshop's a good industry standard, but you can follow along with GIMP or GIMP and like Krita or your photo editing software of choice. I'm just going to make it a very general tutorial so that it's possible to follow.
Yeah, it's good. Hey, just before you hop in and you can complete what you're saying, I think Isabel from POAP is gonna talk a little bit as well.
Okay, sure.
Just to give you a heads up. So I wasn't sure if you were gonna hop in right now or if there was more you were gonna say. But
No, I would have started right now, but she can like say what she wanted to say. I'm willing to listen.
Sure. So let me maybe go a little bit like a high level about what it is that we do at POAP, because I guess everyone here at POAPathon probably knows at least a little bit, but maybe to set the context and the stage for the conversation.
Just catching you, we're not recording. So can you hit the record button, hit to cloud?
It says we're recording. Okay.
Oh, it does?
It does, we're recording, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, sorry, go ahead.
No worries. So as we all know, POAPs, we call them like the bookmarks for your life, right? Like they're digital records that help you remember life special moments, where you were with, who you were with, what you were doing, and what made it special. So one of the things that we kind of like to think about as we design POAPs, and whether we do this based on photos, based on illustrations, or however, is that we kind of try to make the pieces collectibles that have some unique sentimental value, right, to everyone involved. You want to make them pretty. You want to kind of keep in mind, I guess, some sort of emotional impact, a sort of like a recollection to
an event, yeah.
Not just a recollection to an event, right? But like it's almost like an inside joke. It's almost like an inside joke in a 500 by 500 format, right? That's really kind of like I think what I wanted to say. There are maybe like more call it maybe designer specific style pieces. The thing about the format 500 by 500 pixel, you don't want anything to be call it too large a file size. You don't want any like very, very small print that's gonna not read well in a thumbnail, right? Because you remember that these are like collectible badges that are displayed usually in like a mobile UI or else a desktop UI, and in either case, so they tend to be quite small in nature. So fine details tend to not work as well. So you're kind of looking for things that will pop as tiny little badges like this. And I think, so those are like the two pieces that I wanted to say from like the conceptual side, bookmarks for your life, sentimental value, and deep feelings of reminiscence when you look at your POAP collection. And from the maybe design and more formal guideline side, not too many fine details, not too much fine print, and you kind of want to keep in mind that it will be displayed, as a small round image on a mobile device. So make things easy to look at. At this point, I'm going to hand it back over to Xirynx, who I guess is going to run through his workflow, which I think we'd all love to see.
Hey, one other thing. So this week, just to highlight, POAP has been generous to put together a competition ahead of the POAPathon, which is in November 12th, and basically competing to create POAPs. And you can go on the POAPathon Discord and see the list. It's NFT.NYC POAP hunt that they're created for. And there's a long list of, and we'll show that in a second, I guess, towards the end of the call. But there's a long list of different events. And for every single one of those, the top design awarded will receive $200. And there's somewhere around about 25 plus or minus, so about $5,000. And those have to be done by Saturday at 23:59 UTC time. Just to highlight.
By Sunday, 23:59 UTC time, I think. So I think we actually want to keep the cutoff until the end of the weekend. And
oh, sweet, cool.
Yeah, until the end of the weekend. Come on. And I think the one thing that I'm gonna kind of like add to that is that we're trying to look at this as you know, an excellent opportunity to build a relationship with the POAPathon community. We love to see designers and illustrators and all sorts of creatives get involved with POAP, because you guys make beautiful things, and we kind of see this as the beginning of a wonderful ongoing relationship. So we're going to have 25 winners for at least 200 USDC each. And I think that everyone participating is going to get a special POAP, and there's going to be also special POAPs for the people that manage to actually be kind of like selected as finalists that will be using the POAPs in production. Because everyone that helps out with this, and you know, whether you put in an effort, whether ultimately it's kind of your POAP going into production or not, everyone that's helping out with this is a hero. Like, quite frankly, I think we can't put it another way. It's like you guys are helping make NFT.NYC special for thousands and thousands of people. And I think that the more participation we see here, absolutely the better for everyone involved.
I think this event's going to be bigger than NFT.NYC. That's the goal.
So you know what? Like, Tap, believe it or not, we're going to be pulling on a couple of different design communities, most likely, to invite them into the fun. I think it's a wonderful opportunity to introduce different designers and illustrators all over the world to NFTs. So, I mean, absolutely. Like, you know, I don't know if it's going to manage to be bigger than NFT.NYC, but like quite possibly, maybe. We definitely have the art creds. Like, at least we have that, right?
Yeah. I think what's interesting, I'm excited about this, is it's a distributed event. And so the idea behind this was like 3 weeks ago, and we're already, you know, competing and doing cool stuff. So it'll be interesting to see where it's at 3 weeks when we kick off the event. And thank you guys at POAP for making all the contributions. So, all right, let's hop in the design session. And then anybody that creates a POAP by the end of today, 23:59 UTC time, in the competition for NFT.NYC, will get the POAP that we're creating today. So make sure you get a submission in early.
Yep. Okay, so can I get started?
Yes, please.
All you.
Okay, so as I said earlier, I'm going to be doing this in Photoshop today, but you can follow along in your photo editing software of choice. So Photoshop is generally easier for me because I'm used to it, but I'm going to do it in such a general way that you can probably follow along in any other photo editing software. So the first guideline when creating a POAP is to decide on your resolution. So generally a POAP is a square image, but it's going to be cropped into a circle once you submit it. So they recommend 500 by 500, but I feel like when someone clicks on that POAP, it's a bit low resolution when it's at that resolution. And then they recommend a file size limit of 200 kilobytes. So I think when I pull it up to something like 1920 by 1920, that's a good compromise, a good middle ground. You get a good resolution, and you also get within like the file size limit generally. So today I'm just going to stick with 1920 by 1920 as a square image. I'm going to call it tutorial. And yeah, so now we have just this blank canvas. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the paint bucket tool, and I'm going to just make a white background. And then I'm going to add another layer on top of that. And I'm going to go to my shape tool, create an ellipse. And I'm going to make an ellipse of size 1800 by 1800. Why not? And let's center that. And I think, so then we have this border, the stroke. I'm going to make the stroke, I think 20 pixels, slightly thicker than what it was. And the next step, what I want to do is I want to cut off like a pizza slice out of the circle. So I'm going to do that with a triangle shape. You can generally, there's like probably many ways you can go about doing this, but I think the triangle is like the easiest for me to follow. So I'll create a new layer there and create a triangle. I'll say 1500 by 1500 and 3 sides because it's a triangle, of course. And we've got a triangle there. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this up until it's centered with the canvas. And I'm going to pull it to the side until it's aligned with this edge here. And there's our, so that's the first triangle. We're going to do another one later on, but for now we're going to stick with this. So I'm going to select both of these layers with shift, hold shift, click both of them. It'll select all of them. And then you right click, rasterize the layers. So what this does is it basically removes all shape data and turns it into pure pixels, like a pure layer, just a pure image layer. So what I'm going to do is while holding this, I'm going to hold Control, and then while hovering over this polygon 1, the triangle, I'm going to click on that icon. And what it does is it selects the entire shape. So with that selection, I'm going to go to the ellipse layer. And I'm going to invert the selection. So go back to the polygon layer, and I'm going to invert it. So now instead of selecting only the triangle, I'm going to select everything but the triangle. So to do that, I'm going to get Control Shift I, and that's going to invert the selection. So now it's selecting the entire canvas except the triangle. And now with this selection, I'm going to select the ellipse, and I will Control J, which duplicates that layer, but only in the parts we've selected. So I'm going to hide all the layers, and what we're left with is this circle that's been cut out. And what I want to do is I want to get rid of this white background. I just want a plain circle. So I'll use my magic wand tool, select the white parts. It'll select everything that's of a similar color. So it selects the entire white parts, and I'm going to say Control X, and that will delete it. So now we've got this border. So that's our first border. Now we're going to do this again, but with a slightly thicker circle. So this time I'll go to the ellipse tool, and this time I'll make it 1860 by 1860. And we're going to center this. And I want to make the border of this one slightly thicker, so maybe 60 pixels this time. There we go. And I'm going to remove the fill so that it's transparent in the middle. And with this one, I'm going to cut out a pizza slice, but instead of doing everything but this point, I'm just going to do only this point. So I'm going to create another triangle. 3 sides, 1,500, or maybe I'll make it 1,400 this time, 1,400. And position that in the center, aligned with the edge, just like last time. And I'm going to take these two shapes, right click, rasterize layers, just like last time. So remove all the shape data. And I'm going to hover over this triangle while holding Control, and then click it, it'll select it. But instead of inverting it this time, I'm not going to invert it. I'm just going to duplicate the layer. So I select the ellipse, and I click Control J, and that's going to create this shape that we have here. So now what we've done is essentially we've created this kind of border which has like different sized thickness lines on the edges. So it's like kind of like what you get in like Cyberpunk UIs and things like that. So I'm gonna delete the rest of the layers. We don't need them except these two. And I'll group these. So select both of the layers with Shift, Control G, that'll create a group, and I'll name it borders. There we go. And I'll just rotate this by hovering over the top right and then rotate it. Just about that, just eyeballing it. That should be fine. Now the next step would be to create another ellipse because there's a lot of white space in here. I want to fill it with a color. Oh, but before I do that, I think I want to show people like how I go about getting colors. So I'll open my browser, and we're going to search for color palettes. And I generally go to colorhunt.co. And I want, for this theme today, I want like a neon colored like design. So I'm going to go search neon, find a color palette. And what I generally do when I find something I like, so I think this looks nice, I'll take this and I'll screenshot it. So I'm going to screenshot that and then go back into Photoshop. And I generally put these in the top, like in the top of my canvas so that I can quickly choose the colors whenever I want them. So this like gives me a reference of like what my design, like what colors I'm going to use and like how it will go about like designing this. So what I want to do is I want to take this blue color first. I'm going to create an ellipse, maybe like 1500 by 1500 pixels. Center it. And I'll change the color to this blue. There's a fill, and I'm going to remove the border. There we go. So we've got this circle in between, and this is where I'm going to put our text later on. But before that, I want to add some decorations around the canvas so that it's not so plain. So I'm gonna add a circle, another one, a smaller one this time. Maybe I'll eyeball this one instead of using pixel. I'll eyeball, so like about that size. And I'll do it on a new layer. So we got a circle of that size. And I'll change the thickness of the circle, maybe make it thinner, and maybe make it a little smaller. Okay. And I'm going to duplicate that with Control J while holding the layer, duplicate it so it creates a copy here. Make it slightly bigger. And I need to place that, and then I need to increase the size. I'll increase the border for this one so that it gives a little bit of character to the shape. And I'm going to put this underneath the other one, centered. And I'm going to do that again. Control J, put it at the bottom, increase the size. And maybe we don't want like even spacing between each circle. That would look a bit boring. So I'm going to like make this one a bit like a thinner border, I guess. So let's make that thinner, place it and make it thinner. And then finally, I'm going to do one more, make it even bigger. And this one, I just won't have a border. I'll make it 0 pixel border. So this just won't have a border. Okay, so we've got these 4 circles. I'm going to group them. Holding Shift, I'll select all the layers, group them to Control J, with Control G, sorry. And I'll just call it circle. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change the colors that are filling each of them. So I'll leave the smallest one, I'll leave it white. The one slightly bigger than that, I'm going to make it, I think, this purple color here. I'll choose that. And then I'll leave the next one white. And then the final one also purple. Fill, purple color. Okay, so we've got this like circle flower kind of spiral kind of thing. Don't know what to call it really. Kind of looks like a target that you use for dots. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in the corner here. So we've got that. And I'm going to duplicate this group. Control G, duplicate it, resize it. Maybe make this one a little smaller. Put it there. And then I'll duplicate this again, put it up here, resize it to maybe a bigger color. I'm just going to do that 2 more times.
And you're just alt dragging on that to make a copy, right? As a quick one, or you're using Control J?
I'm using Control J. So what I'm doing is I'm just like selecting the layer and then hitting Control J, and then I'll create a new group of this.
Great. But
yeah, I think alt drag also works. I'm not sure. I think that's an Illustrator thing. I don't think that works in Photoshop, but maybe I'm wrong. Okay, so we have this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this group is here. I'm going to change the colors. I don't want all of them to be purple, so I'll use some of this yellow that I've got here. I'll select this group. And instead of having purple circles inside it, I'll put yellow. And let me select that color. Got yellow. So So that one will be yellow, and then maybe 2 of them up here would be yellow. So there we go. And one more. Or maybe I'll leave it 2 each. Do I want more yellow or more purple? I guess that's a thing you can decide on. So I'll just leave it like this for now. And now finally, what I want to do is I want to create like, so there's a lot of space in here that like, I don't want, like over here in this bottom corner, there's a lot of space that I just don't want to leave because it makes it look empty. The more white space you fill up or like blank space that you fill up, the better your designs end up looking usually. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to take a rectangle, the rectangle tool, create like just an arbitrary size. It doesn't really matter, something like that. And I'm going to fill it with black, and I'm going to remove the border. So it's just a black rectangle. Now what I'm going to do with this rectangle is I'm going to duplicate it. Well, before that, let me rasterize it. So what rasterizing does again is it removes all shape data and makes it pure pixels. So I'm going to duplicate it, pull it to the side a little. And like maybe this one will be smaller, I'll make it a slightly smaller. And then do that again. Pull it to the side, make it slightly bigger. Pull it to the side. And make that slightly bigger. Okay, so we've got like a uneven rectangle stripe kind of thing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color of one of them. So for my color palette here, I don't want to use the blue because that takes up most of it. So I'll use one of these colors. I'll take maybe the yellow for this one, and I'll color one of them yellow. So we have a bunch of black rectangles and then one yellow one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift click all of these, select all of them. And then I'm going to click Control E. What that does is it makes it one layer. So it combined all of them into one layer. And now what I'm going to do is click Control J, duplicate this. And we don't want it to be so symmetrical. I want to add some character to this. So I'll increase the size a bit this way. And I'm going to flip it. Right click, hold with your selection tool, you right click, free transform, and then right click again and flip horizontally. And then I'll offset it a little like this. So now what this does is it tricks your brain into thinking that it's 2 different like designs for each line, but it's actually the same one just flipped around. And to add to that effect, I'm going to change this to black. And I'm going to change another one of the rectangles to maybe this purple. There we go, like that. So it adds a little dynamic, like adds a little dynamics to the design, I guess. And then finally, on the top, I'm going to create one slightly larger rectangle for the entire bar. And you'll see why I'm doing this in a bit. I'm going to make it filled with black, and I don't want a border. Okay, there we go. And now I'm going to take all 3 of these layers, and I'm going to say shift click all of them, and then Control E, and that'll make it all one layer. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to rotate it so when you rotate it a bit and you bring up these tools on the top here, I'm going to set it to -45, like that. So it's like a slanted line going across. And I'm going to increase this. Hold shift so that it only stretches it rather than scaling the whole thing. So I'm going to stretch it across like that. And maybe increase the thickness a little, like that. Okay, so we've got that there. And now, finally, the last part, since this is a rather simple design, I'm going to add the text over here. So I'm going to type in POAPathon. I like to type in all caps because it keeps it even and your text looks more pleasing to the eye, I'd say. So I want to fill up most of the white space, so I'm making this rather large. And I'll move it to the center.
Awesome. Let's throw some NFT.NYC in there as well. What do you think?
We can. Up here?
Yeah, that'd be cool. But I mean, your
Okay.
call totally.
No, we can. NFT.NYC. Okay, and I don't want this to be purple. I'll change that to black just now. I want to center this. So that's centered. And I want to change the text to black again. And I want to change the font because we want something bold that goes with our kind of modern theme here. So I'll add POAPathon, and maybe underneath it, I'll say workflow tutorial. And then this will be like a different size. Center it. There you go. I'm just moving it around so that the spacing is kind of even. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. I think this is a bit of white space here, so I'll fill that in by something like by Xirynx, I think. So that I can stamp my approval on this, I guess. Stamp my mark. Okay, so we've got this going, and I think I want to change the font for each of these. So I'll go to what I've got. And like we want something bold that's like it complements our theme, I guess. So I'm just going through all the fonts in this that I have. And I think I've one in mind, is Eras bold or Eras regular. Yeah, I think this goes well. I quite like this font. So I'm going to use that. Maybe need to make that a bit smaller. So it all comes down to just playing around with your design and like filling white space and adding character, I guess, with colors and shapes. And it doesn't need to be anything complex. I know there's a lot of POAPs that have a bunch of animations and stuff, but each event's unique and you need to like decide based on what the event is, what you want to do. Okay. Okay. So another thing about POAPs is they generally reflect like an event that happens or something that's like a big thing happening around. So generally with POAPs, you want to make them memorable by including a date. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the date somewhere here. And what I have an idea of how I want to do this. So I want to make the text white, maybe make it bold. And then we say 2021, today is the 21st, right? Yes, it is.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to have that date there. I'm using UTC date format. So I generally use UTC because it's universal, of course, and anyone can understand it rather than using something that's only used by one country. And I'm going to rotate it by -45 degrees, same as this strip here. And I'm going to put it along this strip like that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But one final touch, I'm going to remove this color palette. We don't need it anymore. And when you're presenting your POAPs, you generally want to present them as a circle. So you want to like crop this out to a circle and so that it's ready for presenting. So how I do that is usually I take all the layers, select all of them with Shift, click on the top one, select all with Shift, and then Control G, that groups them up. And what I do is I add a mask. So what a mask does is it basically hides everything that's colored. So if you have, so I'm going to alt click on this mask. Yeah. So you have a white canvas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ellipse selection tool, elliptical marquee tool, and I'm going to set the width to 1920 and the height to 1920 as well. And it's a fixed size. And then when you click here, what it does is it creates an ellipse selection of that size. So I'm going to center it. And since our canvas is 1920 by 1920, this circle will fit it perfectly. And then since I've selected this, I can click Control I, and that's going to make it black. And then now you're going to see when I go back to the group, everything that's in that black area is hidden. So I don't want to do that. I want to go back to it. Control I. I don't know why the selection is still here. It's a bug. And then I'll click Control I again, and that inverts it. So everything that's outside the circle is now hidden, and everything that's inside it isn't. And now for the final, like, I just want to move these circles a little because they're like kind of in the way. So they're getting cropped off. I don't want that.
It looks beautiful. Yeah, as we're doing this too, I just want to be mindful if anybody has any questions or comments or you know, wants additional advice, we have some time. Too, this is it's fantastic. Looks like a great POAP as far as walkthrough. So I mean, I think that took you about 20 minutes. We are going to post this to YouTube as well as a recording so people can walk through. I also, you know, don't want to take it for granted, you know, Photoshop well. I think the shortcuts were super helpful. Yeah, because that's what can help people do it a little bit faster. Is the other piece there. So any other tips for folks and
okay,
know,
so
POAP designs?
Generally with designing POAPs, what I do is like if it's related to a protocol or a DAO or something, I go to their website, scour their assets, maybe used inspect element to like pull some of their assets from the website directly, because after all it's related to that event. And then what you do is you go online, search for, I don't know, I sometimes search cool logo designs, cool backgrounds, wallpapers, things like that, and I get inspiration from that. And then that's how I like compile it into this. What some artists do is they take all these inspiration photos and they create a PureRef board. So what PureRef is it's a software that you can like drag and drop images onto, and like it just appears on your screen while you're working. So you can like constantly draw inspiration from them as you're working. So I'm just gonna show like the last part, which is saving the POAP. So generally when I click save, so you want to save it as a PNG. That's very important because that's the only format that POAP supports as far as I know, and animated PNG, but that's also PNG by extension. So save it as a PNG. I'm going to save it as tutorial. And when you click save, with your format options, you want to choose the smallest file size, because you're being mindful for people's like internet usage and like how fast it loads on the website. So generally the smaller you save it, the better. And what Photoshop does is it makes it as small as possible without you losing any or as much image quality, like anything that's noticeable. So I'm going to save it as smallest. And yeah, I'm just going to send it on the Discord, I guess. Let's go to design ideas and I'll attach the POAP from POAP tutorial. And yeah, here's the result of the tutorial. There we go. Okay. So I just leveled up. Okay. So there we go. That's pretty much all I'm going to do with my workflow. That's how I go about it. When they're doing animated stuff, I usually use Premiere Pro and After Effects, but that would take way too long for just a 1-hour call. So I decided against it. But yeah, this is generally my workflow for making POAPs. It's not that difficult once you get the hang of it. I'm sure you could do this with any other photo editing software as well. You don't have to stick with Photoshop. But yeah, that's about it. I'll hand over the call to Tap
Hey,
right now.
you just had your Discord open, and one of the things I want to just walk through is the competition that's going on right now.
Okay.
For everyone on the call. So if you can hop that open and just hop to end the
Okay, so we
POAP
go
hunt.
to the events.
Yep.
Yep, so we
so
have...
combination of
go
a few
ahead.
things. Yeah, combination of a few things here, which is and I'm kind of curious. I think if you click out that category, it
This
should
one.
yeah, so these are all threads, right?
Yeah.
For every single competition. So every single thread is an event at NFT.NYC. You can submit, so like go to an individual thread and you just submit on that thread your POAP, and that will make you eligible if you submit one by the end of today to the event for both the POAP that was just created, as well as every single one of these threads will get a $200 award for the best design that's selected for NFT.NYC, and they will use the POAP as well for all the different events around the city. So pretty exciting. Lots of money on the table. There's a lot of categories that don't have any designs yet, right? Feel free to ask questions. Like, it's a huge opportunity here to have some fun, get some recognition. And then if anybody, is cool with us, posting on Twitter, also, we're going to tweet some designs out. Don't hesitate to put your Twitter handle in there if you're comfortable having us tag you as well.
Yeah. So this is pretty cool. And I think if they submit any of these today, they get, so like chrisfcrypto.eth is going to get one today. One of the ones we made today.
Yeah, Chris has been going to town, and we made a mistake where we had to remove an event or two, and Chris had already made the artwork, so we gave him a rect POAP or POAP, just to recognize, hey, sometimes we make mistakes, but everything should be clear, up to date. Want to make sure it's fun competition. It's part of learning. Like, we started the idea behind this about 4 weeks ago. And this is kind of a test run to the actual POAPathon that's happening November 12th. So I really appreciate everyone hopping on, and appreciate you taking the time to share with us how to create a POAP.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I hope it was helpful and gave people inspiration, at least, if nothing else.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Any other questions, don't hesitate to ask. The competition's going till Sunday, where you can do submissions. So I think there's some time zone things, as far as how late it is. And we're trying to be as fair as possible, but also create some level of sense of urgency. So appreciate everyone taking the time. I'll upload this to YouTube. It'll be our first YouTube video and tutorial. Try and get it up in the next hour or so. And so we are looking forward to more of these types of events. And thank you, Xirynx, so much for just volunteering. I think we talked earlier, we've never met, really met before, talked on the phone. And that's part of the event, is you can just hop in and contribute and help, right?
Yeah, sure. It's pretty cool that way.
100% community led, which is great. And then we have, just a few other things I'll highlight. We have sponsorships that's going towards paying the rewards to designers and artists, and then some of the facilitation of the event, tooling and whatnot that's going on. But yeah, out of that money, none of us that are helping organize, it's all community led, are taking money out of those sponsorships, and it's a good opportunity. So if you are working with any protocols, any projects, any companies that are interested, just want to put a shout out there from a sponsorship perspective. We're currently open for sponsorship. There's a sponsorship tab on the POAPathon homepage. And some of the protocols we have sponsorship for to date that have full commitment is volatility.com, Balancer DAO, My Ethereum, Carbon Utility Token, Eco, and Moonpot. And we have a list of other ones that we're just waiting on confirmation from a proposal perspective. So we expect to have a lot more prizes for the POAPathon November 12th through 24th. But for now, by Sunday, submission window wise, 23:59 UTC, you can submit your POAPs and win up to $5,000 across all the different prizes.
Yep, that's cool.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna stop.
Yeah, thanks so much.
So should I stop screen
Great.
sharing? I'm gonna stop now.
Oh yeah, I think we're good. And thanks everybody for hopping in. Don't hesitate to hop in the Discord. I'll try and figure out, I'll look at all the submissions probably tomorrow to make sure that everyone gets a POAP, and try my best with that. Takes a little bit of time sometimes. And then the other piece with, I think there will be some other POAP giveaways during the event for artists that make contributions. So we're super thankful, everyone that's joining, get involved with the community, and let us know if you have any ideas, if you want to speak, provide a session, get engaged, do design work. We need it all. So thanks so much.
Thanks again, Tap. Thanks again, Xirynx. To everyone who's listening in and who's watching this stream after the fact, POAPathon, we're all about creativity, utility, and awareness around POAPs, and we'd love to have you join us. We have our website at POAPathon.com, and we have our Discord link as well over there. So feel free to jump on in, and we'll give you a warm welcome and get you set up for our event from November 12th till the 24th. Excited to have you all, and thanks again, Tap and Xirynx.
Thank you.
Oh, Xirynx, you're gonna have to end the meeting, so just hit
okay, sure.
end.
I'm just gonna stop the recording. I'm just stopping the recording, yeah.